welcome to Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast. My name is Cammy Bell. I'm stepping in for Mr. Edgar on this week's flagship show as Davey is across in Dubai. Coming back from Dubai, as you'll be listening to this, having had what appears to have been an excellent weekend with the Dubai Loyal, and he was in some esteemed company alongside Lee McCulloch, Kevin Thompson and Mark Catley as well. Joining me on this week's show to talk about the 1-1 draw at Ibrox against Dundee United, plus some other rumours that have been circulating recently, is my very good friend Andy McGowan. Andy, thank you very much for coming on.
Hi Cammy, thanks for booking me in for this before the game, which was a masterstroke on your part. Well done for suckering me in there.
I did say to you, and I can provide evidence of it, listeners, that I said, Andy, come on the flagship, we'll record it on Sunday night. And that was the only time you were available, in my defence. And as soon as you confirmed, I said, it'll be a draw or a loss.
And
I should have put money on it.
Don't be so silly, as if you didn't put money on it.
I wish I had, honestly. It'd be one of the few bets I've ever placed that actually comes in. Andy, let's jump straight into a very disappointing 1-1 draw with Dundee United Ibrox. First time at Ibrox this season that we have dropped points. But there's obviously going to be a lot of questions in hindsight now about the starting lineup, about players who were getting used, having been brought on midway through the game. Looking at the team sheet and taking into account the Casemiro injury whilst he was away in international break, were you surprised to see Dujon Sterling right back, or did you think that Tavernier would be able to come in and reclaim the role?
I was surprised. But I was pleasantly surprised because I think, I don't know about you, Cammy. See, when I put my head in my pillow at night, I sit and go through Rangers formations, what I think the team is going to be and what I think the team should be. And I see the differences between what I think Clement will do and what I think it should be myself, just as a fan. And I thought that he would have a kind of penchant for playing Tavernier at home, where defensively we're maybe not as tested as much, with a vast amount of possession, and we're sitting against teams that sit in, or playing against teams that sit in, and you know the games can be decided by one or two bits of quality, which, regardless of what I say about Tavernier, he can still provide it from time to time. So when he wasn't playing, I thought, good, because I said on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, we've got 4 or 5 weeks to this cup final. You know, the league season as it is kind of ebbing away from any serious title challenge. That's an understatement. And what Clement used to do is give us a bit of belief and give the team a bit of belief as well, and a bit of structure that they go into that cup final, knowing the roles, knowing the philosophy and the system with the correct players in situ, injuries barring, okay? And I thought an integral part of that is going to be playing Sterling at right back because of Maeda, because that's been a differentiator in a lot of these games recently, amongst other things. So when I seen his name down there, I was like, fine. I seen Proper's name, I was like, fine, because I know that he's not everybody's cup of tea just now, but I'm looking at his game, Cammy, and I'm sure you're the same, and you're like, all right, Dundee United have been a really, really good season, and they're causing teams problems, and they're well set up, and they've actually got a good couple of players in there that complement each other. But we should be winning this, you know. Historically, budget-wise, every sense, we should be getting into this and winning it. And then you add in the fact that they've been on the bus for 4.5 hours and they didn't get there to 3 and all the rest of it. This is a game we win, and if we don't win, then it's a disaster, especially given the point situation. So that's where I'm at, Cammy. The lineups are the lineups, and even Dessers, who I've been well documented on these podcasts, what I think of him. I'm still expecting him to provide against a team like this. This isn't a European level. This isn't a higher level than Europa. So I'm still expecting guys like Diamande and Dessers to be able to provide something and win us this game. How little did I know?
Yeah, listen, I think that's fair. I think after the Casemiro injury, my fear was that this plan that you had for Tavernier about phasing him out of the team was going to take a real blow. I think you're totally right. I think that he has to now start putting a team together looking towards the League Cup final. But I'm also surprised, Andy, because we had Danilo on the bench. We had Yanis Hadji on the bench, obviously, and we will talk about it because it's coming up on Thursday, the small matter of Nice in the Europa League. So I thought, I understand to an extent as to why I may include Tavernier and Dessers, but I would like to have seen Danilo been able to give more time purely because of freshness for Thursday. So he had some tinkering to do, and I kind of get that. Would I have been incredibly upset or disappointed to see Tavernier at right back? No, I probably wouldn't have been. And I, like you, on a shows previously, have been vocal about we need to seriously consider what he can do. But again, to your point, it is Dundee United at home. I know that we've got, we certainly don't have our troubles to seek away from home, but at home, whilst we've not had the best performances, we have been able to get results, right? That's factual. You can't deny that. So my hope would have been that even if we did start Tavernier, it was going to be for the full 90. However, I think the disappointment for me comes that I'm still, we're practically midway through the season, and I still don't believe he knows what his best 11 could or should be. Now, I will give the manager a little bit of a kind of leeway here because he has been impacted by injuries. He's been impacted by contractual situations and various other bits of nonsense. But I've got to put that on the back burner now because Hadji and Danilo have both played for the B team. Yanis Hadji wasn't sitting on his arse whilst this contractual, rigmarole was going on. He was playing, he was training, he was involved. So I was probably disappointed not to see him start because that 10 position just feels really fractious to me at the moment. But anyway, the game begins and Rangers were as flat as I think I can remember for a good wee while. I know that we've not had great performances recently, but we have been able to get wins. The real disappointment for me in the first half, Andy, and this is before Dundee United take the lead, by the way, was this felt through the entire first half, there just wasn't any real spark up front. There just wasn't anyone that looked like they wanted to take the responsibility, aside from Vlavklav Cherny, by the way, because we do have to talk about him and where his contribution has been recently. But it just felt flat. And I know that the weather was horrendous. People couldn't make it to Ibrox for one reason or another. I thought the atmosphere on the ground was really flat. And we didn't start well. And I don't think the players started well. And I'll be honest with you, when Dundee United took the lead, I was absolutely not surprised at all.
So I'll probably give you a wee bit different. So I'm not disagreeing necessarily with what you say, but I'm going to give a different angle to this, and it may or may not give a bit of leeway to the manager, but that's not my intention. I'm just telling you what I see, and I've seen it a couple of times this season. I see that we start the game without much intensity, and that we see a lot of play across the back four, particularly two centre halves, moving it forward inch by inch, passing across that it's not quite the horseshoe anymore, but the two centre halves, no matter who they are, pass the ball to each other and gradually move their way up the park. And what we see and what we seen on Saturday was we've got a lot of control of the ball. We've got a lot of control of the danger, i.e. there's no danger, right? We are super secure in our possession. We're moving it about from left to right across the park. But and I, do you know what, Cammy, I'm quite okay with that because teams like Rangers win games, or teams that win the league, you cannot have super intensity every week. It just can't happen. So you've got to have a style of play that at times can still win when there's a wee bit of, I don't know what the word is, laconic, when it's a wee bit stale. And what should be happening in our league domestically is that control should be the baseline, and we should be winning the games by virtue of the fact that we've got a couple of attacking players that are better than the opposition and can produce that wee bit of quality to win as a match, right? What's no happening beyond that control of the ball is that once we get to that, it's not even a final third. It is a final third, I suppose. But when we cross the halfway line, there is very, very little apart from wee sparks for Cherny and sometimes by Rami. And on Saturday, it was exacerbated by the fact that Dessers and Diomande were absolutely chronic. I mean, ridiculously bad, because their involvement was that, well, in Dessers' case, it was non-existent. And in Diamande's case, it was like his touch had deserted him. zero confidence. He's darting about like a heedless wee chicken, making moves for the sake of making moves, trying to be busy, because I watched them. So what you've got, Cammy, in my eyes, is a settled set-up, back four, Raskin and Barron, and then nothing beyond that, except asking Cherny to create a bit of magic, asking Bajrami to create a bit of magic, and it's too much when you've got the number 10 and the number 9 are doing nothing. And I know, like dear listener, that I say this every time I'm on this pod this season, the fact that we have so little physical presence, especially in the front four, kills our press. We don't have a press anymore. We're supposed to. And I think he sets the team out to have a press, but we don't have a press now. What we've got is guys running towards people and nothing happening because there's no contact. There's not even a chance of contact. And Cherny, okay, so you can allow that for one or two maybe, but not all four. Cherny, Bajrami, Diamandi, Dessers, not one of those guys lay a glove on the opposition defenders, i.e. win the ball back in their half. Never happens. Never happens. And I'm going to blame Diamandi and Dessers, because at least Bajrami and Cherny do stuff now and again that gets you off your seat and actually makes you enjoy watching football and is, actually satisfactory. So we've got this big problem now that teams move their own 18-yard box to our 18-yard box in a flash and maybe one or two passes, literally, and create chances and catch us on the hop. It happens every week. No matter what the level of opposition is, it happens every week. And it's that goal was kind of the same. And Dessers is a start of it because he doesn't even go in, he just lets their centre half move out with the ball, step forward so easily. I actually got off my seat at point and shouted, that's too easy. And, 1-2 seconds later, the ball's in the net. So we're going to focus on Proper and Suter and Jeffy for the goal, and quite rightly so. But they're only hiding to nothing if you're going to have flash attacks because you've got a forward line that is absolutely incapable of winning at a ball or defending from the front. And I mean, they're the worst I've ever seen at any time with Rangers, even when we're doing the leagues. This is the worst we've had at defending for the front ever. It's damning. So I've went on a wee mini rant there. Cammy, you still there?
I'm still here, my friend. I would never dare interrupt you. I'm not
just
doing
as well. I just kept going anyway. So that's where I was at with that. And Saturday, I can see that we're winning. We should be winning this game. Not a canter, but no far off it. But we've got such a powder buff attack line that they don't let us defend for the front, and they don't finish teams off, and they don't take their chances. And that is a problem. That goal in itself is a disaster. But that goal could be mitigated by scoring 3 or 4 at the other end if we had any half-decent attacking team right now. Any Rangers team out with when we're doing the leagues would have won that game on Saturday. Any Walter Smith team, Le Guen teams probably would have won it. I'm just at the stage now, I'm like, this is not right.
I'm literally just about to ask you that. How many Walter teams did you ever see where we started a little bit flat, and we maybe got a little bit of a bloody nose, either a couple of shots on target from the opposition, or indeed they took the lead, but you never panicked because you were like, that's fine, we'll win this 2-1 or 3-1 now. Not a problem. This team at the moment is so devoid of any kind of form of character. The thing that really annoyed me when we were looking back at that Dundee United opener, Andy, and you're right, there is absolutely points of fail. Of course there is. Whenever you concede a goal, of course there is. And you are right. I totally agree with you. It starts from the front to the back. I don't think that the midfield cover themselves in glory because Jeffy's caught in absolute no man's land. He doesn't know that he should go with Darby, who's the clear threat. Proper drops him. And Jeffy's immediate response to that is to turn around and look at the man who was behind him going, well, this is who I'm looking at, so I don't know who you're looking at. And it's one of the softest goals you could give away, but that's also because we've not got midfielders coming back, being able to try and track that overload into the box. And Dundee United, and Goodwin had it, absolutely nailed. All you need to do is just get forward when your opportunity presents itself. Other than that, we'll contain, we'll waste time. I had guys around me at Ibrox on Saturday going crazy at the cramp, the time wasting. The goalkeeper get booked eventually.
It's their own fault.
do it, because it's Dundee United don't have to come out and play against us. We don't have a God-given right to be able to try and do that at any other point. So why should Dundee United come out and try and get the game moving as quickly as they possibly can?
We gave them opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. But that all being said, the nature of the goal really frustrated me, because it's a free header, right, from 6 yards out, which is abysmal in the first place. But for me, Andy, the worst thing was there was no immediate ramifications for any of the players. Nobody was turning around and going, that was absolutely your fault, pick yourselves up, blah, 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 what have you. The only time I ever saw it was encouragement for Conor Barron after Danilo missed his chance for about 6 yards out that reminded me of Sam Lammers when he played for Rangers. That was the only time I ever saw any kind of form of communication between the players post-mortem. This, when we gave away the goal, it just summed up where I think this team is. It was just a shrug of the shoulders and goes, well, we were, what can you do? C'est la vie. And I'm like, there's just no pointing the finger. I'm not talking, by the way, about getting players running into each other and shoving each other and starting a rammy. I just mean turning around and going, that isn't good enough.
There's no authority,
nobody there to do it.
There's no authority, and the other reason is I don't think there's a player on that part that knows within themselves that they've got the right to do it, because I think football's changed, right? I do think football's changed, and I don't think you get folk getting pinned up against walls at half-time, this kind of stuff anymore. I just think that's gone, and on the part that will have reflected as well, it's been diluted a wee bit, but there's no player in that team that either knows or feels that they've got the authority to chin somebody, and I think they all know themselves that they're not playing well enough to actually start pointing the finger. The goal itself, right, and I don't want to get into a dissection of it, and I'm just a punter like anybody else, I'm not a tactical genius or whatever, but Jefty is at fault, Bajrami is at fault, because if you watch it, he's lingering at the edge of the box, and he should have been back helping Jefty with his man. That's really what should have been happening. The guy that scored has ran, as you say, as an overload for the middle of the park, and nobody's tracked it. And the ball comes in without pressure. And the reason the ball comes in without pressure, I go back to it, and everybody will say, no, you're just blaming Dessers. I'm blaming Dessers because it starts there, and this is the inches that win you games and lose you games. The centre-half is allowed to walk into space without a challenge and make all that happen. If you the sports scene highlights doesn't show it, it cuts out just before that happens, but that is where it started, and it allows Dundee United to get the overload and get a ball in quick and catches out. It's a joke, right? But I go back to the fact of the matter that domestically, every Rangers team's lost goals, and every Rangers team lose goals like that, believe it or not. But every Rangers team has been able to overcome that because they've been able to win games through scoring goals. Your problem is not, and listen, I'm willing to be challenged in the comments, folks. Your problems do not lie defensively. There are problems defensively, but they don't all lie defensively. Our problems lie in our lack of
scoring goals.
No, not even that, Cammy. Goal creation. And what I mean by that is we're totally wedded to Czerny on the right. Jefty, when he came at the club, we're all salivating over the fact that he can whip a great ball in. And I'm saying this boy's got tremendous delivery. He's like Tavernier. When was the last time you seen him do it? He's not done it for long. I'm talking like literally weeks since I've seen him go outside a man and whip a high, decent, traditional cross in. And that variation is just no there. And, you're getting me riled up here, but the fact is, as the game goes on, the subs are like for like, more or less, right? It's just a personnel change for the same system. And we do not try anything different. He's shoving proper up the park in the latter stages. So why not, I've said this before, why not put Czerny out on the left and see if he can get to the byline with an outswinger? Just try something different. Try a bit of variation. Get teams turning, facing their own goals, and challenge the low block that the second half was. There's so many things here and this is where Clermont's he's ran out of credit completely with the fans, because you do not need to be a tactical genius to think of these things and say, right, I'm a punter, I'm not professional, but why are we not doing these things? Set pieces, right? So the stat came out last week, we're the only team in Scotland domestically, the only team in the Premier League that's no scored for a corner or set piece. That is damning. I'd break your leg just now to get a guy who could get a long throw and somebody could get a flick on. because when we're not creating chances and we're not a good team at attacking football and breaking blocks, you need to have alternatives. We have nothing, and it's a major problem. And it's new at the stage where that has to lie with the manager. You can't say, "Oh, well, it's the players." And Cammy, you've heard me talk about the power dynamic, the power equation. This is the weakest Rangers squad. Forget about the first 11. The weakest Rangers squad I've seen since Advocat left. Remember, his team got soft.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
coincidentally, it coincided with the likes of Connorman, who proper is the same. Comes to Scotland, fit by playing centre half, can't defend, can't handle physicality. Exact same scenario, right? And we're littered with players through the team that are just the wrong side of it. So much so that when Big Sterling wins the ball back, it's notable. You're like, wow, just win the ball back. Fantastic. We guess a strong challenge. We should have 4 or 5 guys in our team that are at the same level physically and winning ball backs as Sterling. Barron and Raskin are only 2 that come close to it, and they're obviously wee guys. So it's like them working beyond what they're actually supposed to be doing. So this is what worries me about the whole squad, Cammy. There's no a quick fix here because we've not got the types of players that balance that out. When I'm flinging shit at the boys here, the likes of Leon King doesn't get a look on because he might not be good enough football wise. But the likes of Leon King could help us out with that physicality in the boxes, and I'm throwing that in there as an example because it's getting to that stage where we need to start shoring ourselves up a wee bit until we're getting goals, because nothing's going to change until the two things happen.
Well, to your point, because this was actually something I wanted to bring up about set pieces as well, and we were talking about this recently in another chat, and someone had brought up a quote that Philippe Clement had said. This was back in February, and he was asked if he would bring in a set piece coach, and he said, "No, because I love set pieces, and that is a thing of the past. But also, I think I played a lot of games as I scored a lot of goals from set pieces, so I will not give away that part."
And you're not playing, Philippe.
Yeah, exactly. But Rangers, and to your point as well about Robin Proper getting further forward, did have the ball in the net just before half-time. A goal disallowed because of a Conor Barron handball, which I'm going to be honest with you, Andy, I had no idea as to why play continued from that point. Proper even got a chance to get his head on a cross because it was as clear a handball I think you'll ever see. Rangers go in at half-time to chorus of boos, deservedly so in my opinion, and I do appreciate that there were people saying you should never boo the team, etc., but they just were not playing anywhere near well enough for the fans not to voice their displeasure. But not only did they voice it, I think that you visibly saw it when Ibrox was beginning to empty, I think at half-time. And we make the substitutions that you said earlier on, quite rightly, that Dessers, Diomande went off at half-time to be replaced by Danilo and Yanis Hadji. Hadji, for me, did look lively. I think, for me, Andy, one of the things that I like about Yanis Hadji is that he will take the ball. Diomande at times can do this. He doesn't do it all the time, but I think it maybe just sticks out to me because once I've seen it, I can't unsee it. That see when he's got a degree of space, he seems to almost put himself in an opposition player between him and whatever teammate happens to have the ball, which kind of rules him a little bit out of contention. Now, equally, in his defence, he will look to take the ball in at close quarters. But with Dundee United, as I say, at that point, they had zero reason to come out into our half from this stage onwards. Quite rightly so, by the way. And it was our job to break them down. Hadji wanted the ball. I think he took a little bit of the pressure off of Czerny because the Czerny situation that you've just mentioned, a little bit more than Bijrami for my money, but the Czerny situation to me now feels like it's very similar to the Ryan Kent situation. Give the ball to Kent, he'll try and break something down, or he'll beat a man and he'll run to the byline and jink in, and whatever else you want to say, he'll try and do something. Czerny's been trying to do the same thing. And for me, there was a couple of lovely bits of link-up play. We obviously get a goal out of it, where you know that you've got your opposition team, and they're basically camped in their third is probably the best way. Could maybe got an outlet, but by and large, they were set up well, good bit of structure. Goodwin's obviously said to them at half-time, just try and stay compact, make them have to find gaps, just don't generate the gaps. And the only way really, or the best way I should say, to be able to play through that is nice pieces of 1-2, which we did get some joy with. But I'm going to be honest with you, and even when you see that 1-2 with Danilo, where he sets it through Czerny, just a lovely sweeping finish, first time past Walton. And I hate saying it, but there's absolutely no denying it for me that Jack Walton had a great game in goals for Dundee United on Saturday. But it's our job to break it down. It's our job to find a way to be able to get through that. Now, we scored that goal on 66 minutes. We would have had 8 minutes of injury time. So you've still got a good solid half an hour there to be able to break that down.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be honest with you, I, at the time, was like, I just can't see another opportunity really coming. Either the keeper's going to pull out a few decent saves, which he did. Obviously, there was a kind of stumble with, I think it was Egerman, and he just sticks a hand up and he's able to clear it. Danilo has a great chance, which he misses. Egerman has a shot from distance, which he gets a good hand behind. But even at that point, I thought, we look better, but we don't look good enough. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I thought we would win the game. So at half time, I'm like to the guy next to me, Andy. I says, you can't see us scoring 2 goals here. This is how bad it is. We're at home. Can't see us scoring 2 goals. When we scored on 66, Cammy, I thought we should have enough here to go in and win the game. It'll still be a squeeze, but we should have enough. Your point about Hagi's not my cup of tea, right? I think he should have been gone, and he's just no enough for me. And this number 10 role at Rangers seems to be like a curse, because it doesn't matter who we put in it or who we sign for it, it just doesn't work. But I'll give him his due on Saturday. I thought he was excellent in the second half because he was taking responsibility. He was moving the ball from left to right. He was becoming a fulcrum, which a number 10 is supposed to be, or an attacking midfielder supposed to be. He was making himself available. And I'll tell you one thing that we did do for the first, I can't remember last time we've really done it on a consistent basis during a game. We started playing 1-2s in and around the box.
Yep.
Now, we talked about set pieces earlier on. We do not get free kicks on the edge of the box. I would like to see the stats. I'm not a statistician, but get Adam and say, what's our comparisons with previous seasons about free kicks in and around the box? The type that Tavernier used to take. We don't get them anymore as far as I can see, and the reason for that is we don't play 1-2s on the edge of the box. Czerny's goal was top class. That was a Durant. The wee drive with the ball, he flicks it inside. Danilo does brilliantly to put his foot on it and pass it through, and the finish is exquisite. Right, that is a top class goal. And that's what Czerny brings to the team. But we don't do enough of that, and the reason we don't do enough of it, and again, going back to Deschler's bashing, I don't care. It's the truth. He can't do that. His lack of awareness and his lack of finesse in tight positions like that, if it comes off, it's mere luck than design. Whereas I think Danilo is a far better technical player. And you've seen it when he came off the bench a couple of weeks ago. I know all of a sudden you're getting 1-2s in the box. It just don't happen. Quick thinking. So Danilo, for me, going forward, has to start ahead of Dessers. And Czerny, as you've quite rightly said, has taken on the Kent role. He's actually a better attacker than Kent, but where Kent trumps him all ends up is that defensive side. I'm talking about that press. That is what I miss about Ryan Kent. It's why I'd take him back, because he was so, unselfishly diligent in his role in front of his fullback and defensively solid, that it often went unnoticed. It get taken for granted, actually. Czerny offers none of that. That's a criticism of Czerny, but it's his gameplay. But I can take that with Czerny because he offers upside. And this is the thing, Cammy. I'm quite willing to accept a player's flaws if they win matches for you. Now, eagle-eyed listeners will be saying, but Andy, what about Dessers? He scores goals and a lot of his games, it's not enough, right? He needs to bring more. The goals are not enough, which sounds stupid. His goals are not enough because the deficiencies in his game are killing our entire methodology of playing. And I know it sounds harsh. It sounds as if I'm singling out. I am, because I feel very, very strongly it's the truth. We need somebody in there in January that can hold a ball up. We need to try and get rid of Dessers in January. That's how bad it's got. He has got to be told, look, you need to move on, mate. Easier said than done, as we've seen in the summer. Shankland, he's the name that always gets flung about. because he's familiar to us and he's available and everything else. See whatever you think of Shankland, and I don't think we'll sign him, by the way, because I don't think it fits the profile of what we're looking for. But if you were to get him a decent price and bring him in, he would, or a player of his ilk, transform the way your attacking works, because we'd be able all of a sudden to actually hold the ball up at the edge of the box, get folk running about us, and you'd see better play that wouldn't be so reliant on get the ball to Cherny, get the ball to Bijrami. You'd be able to play through the middle a wee bit and pull players all over the place, and it would give us just a wee bit of focal point and a wee bit of physical strength up the top end of the park. So that's no... Don't go nuts in the comments about Shankland. That's just me using it as an example. I could quite as easily say Morelos or Lyndon Dykes or anybody. I can put anybody up there and we will get a better return for the team than what we're getting just now at Dessers. It's that bad that we're talking about Danilo as a solution. And that's no Danilo's game, but he's still stronger as a player than Dessers. So there's so many things wrong there, Cammy, and I feel as if I'm saying the same thing pod after pod after pod. It's going to take more than one day to fix this, but this is a challenge that's so above Clermont, and that they need to be looking at this, and they need to have harsh conversations with players. Fuck their fucking sense of security or keeping them cool and in a good space. They need to be told, look, this isn't working, you need to find a new club, we want you to go. And see if they don't go, then we're going to have to bite the bullet and not play them. You know, whether they're on 25, 30 grand a week, we need to. This is why the Hadji situation hasn't helped us right now. We can talk about the ethics of what we did to Hadji. Did we win that scenario? Because we don't know what came out, whether he waved goodbye to his pay rise or no. But the scenario there, I wasn't particularly bothered about it, because I think it happens the world over in football, and I think we need to start being really, really cynical and harsh and get players to F as soon as possible if they're not doing what to do. It's desperation stakes, in fact, in terms of changing the squad. We're going, in years to come, there'll be a YouTube reel of Sarah Disher's goals for Rangers, and folk will look back and will go, we're a bit too harsh, because he scored some cracking goals and some very clever goals and very, passing them in the net and all this kind of stuff. He can do that, and he's capable of it. What we don't have is, or what we can't have, is a player oscillating from the heights of his form to the pits of his form that we've had there. We just cannot have that. And you need to have players that function when they're not playing well. And what I mean by that is we need to have a centre forward that can be having a shit game, but can still drop a wee bit deep, take a ball, and play other people in. A basic, as far as I'm concerned, right? As far as I'm concerned, that is a basic for a Rangers striker playing against low blocks. We need you to be able to have a wee bit of variation in your game, because you're not going to get allowed to play an entire game in the 6-yard box. To a lesser degree, that was Chris Boyd's fault. A big problem in big games. Couldn't quite do that good enough. So with Dessers, and we're fixating on him here, but it is a big, big problem, and it was absolutely amplified on Saturday by the fact that Diamande. I just do not know what's happened to that boy. When he first came, he could take a ball with a man at his back and get a shimmy and move away from him. He had a sure touch, he had a good pass, he liked to have a wee shot when he could. He was forward thinking, he had his head up, and he had energy. And what we've got now is, that was a shadow of that. Now, I'm willing to give Diamande time, and this is the thing that a lot of the Rangers support differ from me, because a lot of Rangers support just make their mind up. And that's fit by fans, right? But I think we still need to have patience with the boy, because he could do with 2 stone of muscle. I think if he 2 stone of muscle, he might not be at Rangers. They've been playing the Premier League, but he needs to get built up. He needs to get up to speed with the physicality, and he needs to give self-confidence, because I do still think there's a player in there, but Clermont has to... what's he been doing in training? No, but he's been brilliant, and then he plays like that on Saturday. That's down to the player. But as you say, Hadji's been chatting on the door. I nearly said Dowell there, but I'm not even going to go there. But Bijrami, I still think, is one of the players that he is our true number 10 as far as I can see, because he's a player that likes to create space for himself, which is, a trademark of all great players. He can operate in tight spaces, and he likes to have a shoot, and he seems to be one of the only few players in our team that can, put a slide rule pass through for folk. So, listen, we're going around a wee bit of circle here, Cammy, but the front four, with the exception of Cherny and Bijrami, because I can handle their deficiencies, whoever plays 10 and 9 needs to contribute more than what we had on Saturday. It's just simple as that.
One small silver lining was to see the return of Ridvan Yilmaz, and glad to see him back. What he can contribute, I don't know, but I'll be honest with you, I'll take any fit player that I can get my hands on at the moment. So it was nice to be able to try and see him back in action.
Mere height for the set pieces.
Exactly, yeah. We'll put him on John Sutter's shoulders. I'm going to be honest, I want to talk just very briefly, Andy, probably around where I get a sense of the mood of support at the moment. And right now, the only word I keep coming back to is apathy. I used to get to the stage as well where I would hear the manager's post-match comments and stuff, and I'd be pulling my hair out what little I have left of it to say, what is he watching? And now I'm just at the point of I've turned off. I don't really care what he says. I'm not really surprised now when I see some of these, because I think maybe subconsciously I've got to a kind of stage when we are scraping 2-1 wins, or we're just managing to get over the line and nothing else. And I go back to what I said beforehand about performances and doing enough to get a win. And a win's the priority, of course it is. I'm not suggesting anything other than that. But when I go back to beating Motherwell marginally in the League Cup, getting the win against St Mirren, the 2-1 game, the game against Hearts as well, where we just managed to get over the line. There's probably been a part of me that's thought we're going to drop points at some stage because it's been in the post a wee bit. Ibrox was practically empty by the time we got to that stage. I'm going to give a bit of leeway to the fact that the game, as you said earlier on, was a delayed kickoff. But I'm tired of the excuses now, and I think most of the support are. See if the situation had been reversed, Andy, and we went up to Tannadice and we had to travel 4 hours, we were delayed getting up there, blah, blah. I can almost guarantee you the manager would have said preparation was not ideal. Now, Goodwin made some reference to it, but ultimately never used it as an excuse. He said, yeah, these things happen. That's what kind of goes on. And this is where I feel Clement, I don't think he can say or do anything now shy of being able to go in some unimaginable winning run, which also includes the League Cup, by the way, potentially a win in the Old Firm game at New Year that keeps him in this role. We're recording on Sunday night. I'm assuming that a lot of people listening to this got the same WhatsApp rumours flying about the place that there was a board meeting. He was potentially going. But we're still coming back to that situation now, Andy, where it's when and not if.
I don't pay, or I should say I didn't in the past pay much attention to managers' press conferences, whether it's Clement, Beale, anybody. I don't see them as forums for honesty. I think it's mere forums for minimising headlines.
They'll never, just to kind of expand on that, they'll never be totally honest. I don't want that either, by the way. I don't expect to be fooled. But some of the things he comes out with, it's like, understand the audience. Do you mean read the room a wee bit? And yet it still doesn't seem to stop him.
Aye, well, this is my problem, because I'm now thinking, I think that's the kind of thing he says in the dressing room, do you know that? And that's what worries me, because he cannot be sitting there. No, listen, he was right, even if we didn't want to hear it, that the second half is much better. The second half was actually pretty good, and 9 times out of 10, we would have won that game. We had chances to win the game. And we had total control of the ball. Butland was the threatened apart for set pieces. So he was right in that, but in the moment, and even now, we're like, that's what should have been happening for the first whistle, right? But he's running out of road, because I think I had a pod weeks and weeks ago. It was me, Ross Hunt, and Davey Edgar, and they were talking about Clement, and I says, his best chance of survival is apathy, right? I think Davey and Ross kind of disagree with me, but I don't know if I got my point across, because what I was meaning by that is that we're kind of a situation where we're like, in our heart of hearts, we know that I don't think this board are going to sack him just now. I think he's probably going to see the cup final, probably going to see Christmas and New Year, I've got to be honest, right? And I don't think he's going to walk. I don't think he's going to walk at all. So there's this kind of unspoken resignation that we are where we are. And I don't think anything's going to change until this new CEO, if it's correct, Patrick Stewart comes in. And the chairman, I think the chairman's been a figurehead and actually somebody's going to be operationally influential. But nothing will change until the CEO comes in, because I think for thinking this, take ourselves outside the Rangers bubble and we're looking at this outside, I don't think it would make sense for any temporary board, as we've got just now, if you want to call it that, to make a major decision on the manager before the CEO comes in, because it leaves that CEO coming into a burning fire, a house that's in fire, basically, puts them under immediate and immense pressure to fulfil who that next manager is. I think it's been quoted that Coppin is not the person that will make those kind of decisions. So Coppin's not going to have the overarching picking and choosing managers and that kind of succession that Ross Wilson had. So I just can't see it happening until a CEO is in situ. And when a CEO comes in situ, he's going to survey and he's going to have an audit of what's going on, and then he's going to make a decision. And there's so much more at play, Cammy. We don't know the financial situation of his contract. We don't know the financial situation, the underlink and all the rest of them they brought in, because they've backed the guy. This is the thing. They've backed the guy, and I hope we've not backed ourselves into such a corner that financially we're like, this is going to cost us millions of pounds. I'm talking 4, 5, 6 million quid to get ourselves out of this. Because I think that has a major bearing just where we are just now.
I mean, I'm not suggesting that I want Belgium to come in and make him an offer. But I have doubled my chocolate intake and I'm watching Tintin on repeat in order to be able to try and make that deal happen.
Poirot. Give me a wee Poirot moustache.
Well, on the rumour of Patrick Stewart coming in, keen to get your thoughts on that. Obviously, long time C-suite presence at Manchester United, left the club in the summer, having been CEO for a year, but I think that was part of the Jim Radcliffe takeover at Man United, and I think that he was always going to be on that for a fixed period of time. He has been out of work since before the summer. I'll be honest with you, having now heard the name coming up and about in circulation and had a look at it, I would be encouraged because he has a wealth of experience. I don't think there's anyone in Scotland that we can get that matches him. What's your thoughts?
So it's difficult, right? Because we're no recruitment headhunters, and this isn't just football. This is something completely different, right? And what I guard against myself is jumping to conclusions. So I never wrote off the guy that was quoted before, the guy for Kibble. What was his name? Jim something. Can't remember his name. But anyway, the guy for St Mirren. I never wrote that off because, what we're needing is more than a CEO. We're needing a leader. We're needing somebody with fresh ideas. We're needing somebody that's got balls. We're needing somebody that has got connections and influence and can work with people and make things change, because the CEO position at Rangers needs to be one of the longest term positions if we want to get ourselves back to where we should be. And it's too easy to just simply compare ourselves in two pages side by side with Celtic, because Lawwell is fairly imperious in what he does. You just need to look at the minutes for the transcripts for the AGM during the week. He's just in total control. But what helps him there is the fact that he can point towards domestic dominance for the FIBA, and everything that happens in the park, everything falls for there, right? And he's also had the benefit of Rangers being absolutely nowhere for so long, so they've been able to get in a tremendous rhythm. They've got an easy life just now for the foreseeable as well. What a Rangers CEO coming in here has got a major task on their hands, because what they've got is a tremendous opportunity to turn a club into something that's spectacular, a chance to burgeon their reputation, but you've got a support that is your best friend or your worst enemy. And I think we need to, I was going to say look at it, but it's ever this, isn't it? And folk will say, well, that's FIBA fans, it is, but I think sometimes we don't help ourselves, because already, I put something on Twitter just saying positive news for Patrick Stewart, and somebody's like, aye, but Man United, they're not exactly. I'm like, fucking hell, the guy is connected to ECA, which is something. he's Scottish, and he's from Aberdeen, so he obviously knows enough about how Scotland operates. And I don't care how badly Man United have been run, the fact that he's been operating at that echelon will count for something. And the fact that Radcliffe came in and cleared out, but kept him around for a year to oversee a fairly important transition point means something, right? You don't get to be a temporary CEO at a club the size of Man United without having a wee bit of something about you. And I read the Rangers review at the club about him, and there was also the thing about his legal background. You know, he's a contract expert, all this kind of stuff. You're like, well, that's what you're looking for in a CEO. What we don't know anything about the guy is the leadership qualities, and we don't need a CEO that's going to capture the fans' hearts. We need a CEO who can stand on his own feet and withstand the pressure of when he's making decisions that may not be universally accepted. Because we've got in a wee bit of rhythm now that as soon as, we're kind of, how can I put this? One issue can burn the bridge. One issue can burn a bridge with anybody in our club, whereas I get called an acolyte at the board because of this. I kind of take everything into consideration and say, right, well, they got that wrong, but there's this that they got right, and therefore, for that reason, I'm still on their side when all things are said and done. We need to just get a wee bit more balance for this, because there's going to be a lot of hard decisions to be made, and it's not going to happen quickly. I think the investors are where the real change will be won or lost, because, and I've not said this before, I've said, and I still stand by it, that we need those investors to be on side, because at this moment in time, as I've seen for the accounts, we're in the shit if we don't, because we need them to shore up losses. Just the way we're being run just now and the way things have went, we need investors who are willing still to put their hand in their pocket simply to cover the losses. It shouldn't be this way, but it is, right? I'm now at the stage where I'm like, okay, how does this change? We're miles behind our rival, and we need to get in front of them because second is nothing. How does that change? And I think we're going to need a substantial injection of capital on the park. And I'm the one that always says, we can't just sit here and expect rich men to pay for our hobby. Copyright Martin Ramsey. But I think it's getting to that stage now where the board have to make peace with the fact that despite all their good intentions, which is my biggest defence of them, I don't think there's been any bad actors. I think they've done everything with the very, very best intentions, be that Bennett Park, King. I think they've all done it with the best intentions, largely. I think they've got to make peace that we're back to square one, essentially. We're we're definitely not where we were 2016, but where we are is we've got a stadium that's in good nick. We've not got an existential threat to the club. We've not got onerous contracts, and we've not got, all that baggage that came. What needs to be fixed is the fit beside now, whereas in 2016 it was every single bloody thing about the club had to be fixed physically and, literally. So I think it's going to take a lot of money. That's my wish, that's my hope. I might be totally unrealistic. Massive payoffs, new blood, conviction in our signing policy. Coppin becomes utterly central to it. I don't like the fact that folk are saying, oh, he's not the man for the job. Nobody knows. This guy could be the best thing since sliced bread. It could be a total disaster. It's the same ever this with people you bring in that position. But you need to keep balance. And you cannot judge the guy just now, because we've had Cammy, we've had Jeffy, we've had, I don't think Proper was his Simon, you've had Cherny, you've had Bijrami, you had Barron, so Diamandi, I suppose, was his signing, Silva was his signing. I think he's a guy that's on a learning curve as well, because I think for a signing policy, I think he will learn that they need to suit Scottish football first and foremost, and we're not a counter-attacking team domestically. I think those are two things that will maybe be amended in terms of profile of player. And if we're working in the budget I think we're working in, we're not going to catch up with Celtic anytime soon. And that's why I think there's going to be some radical out-the-box financing. And I kind of hate myself saying that, because I think these investors have done a lot in terms of putting their money where their mouth is. But some of the decisions that have been made, again, best intentions, they've just not worked. a lot of the good stuff that was in place post 55 has just been eroded to barely, you can barely read the labels of them anymore. So it's almost a David Holmes, Fergus McCann situation where you need a wee bit of a. I don't think we need an earthquake, but we need a fucking few rumbles. That's for sure to get us back to where we need to be. Depressing, a wee bit.
But no, listen, I get it. I think that everything you said is completely on the money, and forgive the pun. But the most important thing is it needs stability. I'm encouraged with this connection to Patrick Stewart. I think, again, I look at his CV. I think you made a great point earlier on that I think, Ratcliffe doesn't keep him about unless he thinks he's bringing value. Because let's face it, the guy's absolutely swept through Man United and almost tried to emulate what Elon Musk did at Twitter. But the point is that, it's a name. I'm not discouraged by it. I think that before we've probably set our bar pretty low. And if this is going to take a little bit longer, but we secure him, then hopefully the wait has been worth it. But he's still going to come in under scrutiny. Same thing you mentioned about Kopp, and that's because we've got scar tissue, because when we've tried to do things like this, it hasn't worked in the best degree that it could have. And fundamentally, and Davey said this a lot, so I won't bore people by repeating it too much, but he's bang on the money when he says the guys, the investment team, those guys, they need people in to run the football club, and they need to recruit people to come in to run the football club. It's not an easy task. As you say, we're no headhunters, so we can't sit here and go yes, no in terms of potential candidates. But because of the lack of potential candidates, I think that this is where hopefully this one could go over the line. Andy,
sorry, Cam, I was just going to say one other thing. That Stuart is the calibre of what we're looking for. Operated at a bigger club than us, and is operating on a European level, right? So it is a calibre. This guy should be able to handy sell it as our CEO of Rangers. The Coppin thing worries me in that we have got a fairly... This isn't a criticism of the Rangers support, but it's a criticism of football fans the world over. We've got a wee bit of a toss a coin on a player. So the reason I bring this up is because Igaman came on Saturday, didn't he? And I'm reading on the message boards on Twitter, that's him, he's shite now, right? That's probably the coldest that boy's ever been in his life, right? And he nearly won the game 3 times for us. That's the bottom line, whether he played well or no. That boy had 3, the Gomez scramble, the thunderous shot he had, and then the big lob that nearly went in by hook or crook. And he took responsibility when he came on Saturday with, I don't know how long he had to play, 20 minutes. Stuff like that boils me because... we need to give people breathing space to see what happens, right? There's a wee bit of culture of, I'll call this early so I can say I was right. It's a 50-50 toss of a coin, right? Same with Clement. Folks, somebody said to me yesterday, oh, Andy, you backed him. I said, I never backed him. I backed him because I thought it was worth backing, given what I could see so far. And there was no way in the summer we were going to sack him based on the fact that he won as a cup. We should have won the other cup if it wasn't down to a dodgy referee. And it had us believing, as ridiculous as it sounds, that we were going to win the league. Now, that counted for something, and there was no way he was going this summer, so therefore he fully deserved to get his opportunity this year, right? In hindsight, it was over-optimistic, but it was still the right thing to do because that's how you should operate, and that you give people the chance until they don't deserve it. And he's probably there now, right? The same goes for Coppin, the same goes for players, especially the young players we sign. If we're going to fulfil the prophecy of player trading and everything that goes with that, winning things at the same time as developing players, we need to give players and individuals breathing space to develop. You have to, Barron, Raskin's coming. I say he needs to graduate. He's graduating now. He's becoming a Rangers player now, which is what we need to see. John Suter's graduating now. Stuff like that. You need to do John Sterling. You need to give him the breathing space to develop because it is not easy. Starting last season, I thought Seema was the biggest dud I'd seen in my life. At the end of the season, I was desperate to sign him for £7 million. You need to give players breathing space to find their feet at Rangers. And then there comes a point at some point when you've got body evidence, you can hold your hands up and say, I think I was right at the start because I thought it was shite then. But don't tell me after 2 months. So Igaman and all the rest of it, he needs to be given a time to settle and prove himself because I think he's got attributes. And that's why it links into Coppin, because people are judging Coppin on Igaman. And I don't think that's exactly fair because he's hardly in the door and he's hardly kicked a ball. You got to be balanced. There's got to be breathing space. There will be mistakes. We've got to be able to live with mistakes for the greater good to let things happen, because this isn't going to happen overnight, Cammy. You've said it yourself. It's not a quick fix here.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. We'll just wrap up, Andy, very quickly. Looking forward to Thursday's return to Europa League action as Rangers travel to France to take on Nice. Nice have not been doing too well within the Europa League. Andy, 2 losses and 2 draws means that they're winless. There will be a part of me that thinks, however, that they will be eyeing up Thursday as an opportunity to right that ship. I think this is hugely important because I really don't. I mean, I've already written off, as I'm sure even you as the eternal optimist. I think it'll be incredibly difficult to get anything against Spurs and Man United. I'd love to be wrong, and I'll be the first to apologise if I am. And I don't want to leave it to the USG game. This is a massive game for us, and we've spoken before about being able to try and get into a better footing, to be able to try and get the manager some credit back in the bank. Been able to win on Thursday, gets 10 points across the group, puts us in an excellent position for football post-group stage. How are you feeling about it coming up?
If we beat Spurs, Cammy, I will go on stage at Edmondson House before a game on a Saturday and sing Rabbit by Chaz and Dave with a guitar live on stage. Okay, that's how confident I am that we're going to get stuffed by Spurs. I don't think I've dreaded a game so much in my life as that game, because just everything we've spoken about today and how teams move fast through us. What's a fast team going to move through us like? So I'm dreading it. So I think we need to win. It needs to be quite honest with you, because I think after Spurs and Man United, if they do what I expect them to do to us, and then, you know, they've got Celtic in between those kind of games, I think we'll be shot. And that's really, really pessimistic thinking, because you can think the opposite, but I'm being realistic as I see things at this moment in time. And by that time, USG will be a bridge too far. So I think we need to win on Thursday, to be quite honest with you. And the funny thing is, despite everything I'm saying about today, I think we're capable of winning, because this team is probably far better set up for European displays and counter-attacking football, and that control I was talking about serves them better than the domestic game. I think we all know that. We've seen it. So hope springs eternal. I've not got any enthusiasm for the game. I'm glad I'm not going now, right? Because I'm kind of burst after Saturday, and my passion, not my passion, that's the wrong word. The enjoyment factor. I always look forward to watching Rangers, but this time it's taken me a wee bit longer for those levels to rise back up. By Thursday I'll be up for it, but right now, as I'm recording this on a Sunday night after yesterday, I'm like, right, come on. Whereas the Olympiacos game, for example, I was right up for it. I was looking forward to that kind of thing after the Aberdeen game. So we'll see. It's a potential redeeming factor for Clermont to point towards, but we know the games. We know the game at Rangers domestically. It needs to happen, and we're so far off it just now that it's clouding everything.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how we perform within that as well, and then obviously a trip up to Perth early doors on Sunday as well. Well, listen, that will do us for this week's flagship. Thank you all for listening. Hopefully you found it a bit cathartic. I've certainly enjoyed it as well. If you'd like to hear more from us, please head on over to our Patreon site, patreon.com/Heart and Hand. You can get a whole ton of daily Rangers content across there for as little as a couple of quid a month. It is a complete bargain. Thank you to our show sponsors, NordVPN. Thank you to our producers, Mike Lee and Paul Miles. But most importantly for me, thank you very much for fitting it in. Being the prophet of death that I knew that you would be by ensuring that we didn't get a win at Ibrox on Saturday because I'd booked early doors. But I jest, but Andy, you've been magnificent as always, my friend.
No, thank you for letting me rabbit on. Dear listener,
wait a minute, are you doing your Chaz and Dave thing now?
Yeah, well, still okay. Listen, to the listeners about to comment, Lawrence Shankland, Leon King, do not even think about snapping on those comments. I just use them as throwaway examples of players. I'm not suggesting that those guys are the answers. It's just on my feet thinking about it, right? Don't think about it.
Yeah, there's a cop out if ever you've heard it. Folks, I'll be back with you on Friday on the flagship show, obviously coming out later because of Thursday night's game as well, but it has been a pleasure. Andy, thank you again.
No worries, thanks, Cammy.
Speak to you all later on in the week. Have a brilliant week, folks, and we'll be back with you shortly.